Good evening, Bernard, and good evening to all your listeners and
Wonderful.
viewers.
Wonderful. So, Ben, what's the difference between Fix the Country and Democracy Hub?
So basically, we might describe it like Democracy Hub is the brain work behind Fix the Country. We also, in terms of mobilizing for protests, we also provide legal services for activists and stuff. So that is what we do. We challenge sometimes things that we feel is happening within our communities that aren't right. One of them is the EI that was passed by Parliament. We took it all the way to the Supreme Court. So these are some of the things we do at Democracy Hub. Yeah.
So but then Fix the Country was the original movement.
Yes.
So does Fix the Country still exist?
Yes, it does.
But we did not call this demo Fix the Country.
No.
So what are the demands for this particular one different from what Fix the Country stood for initially?
It's basically the same thing.
Same thing?
Yes, it's the same thing. Just that the fact that this one had a more specific target in terms of where we wanted to occupy, which was a Jubilee House. So that was what led to the coinage of the term. And the reason behind it was something quite fascinating. I think I've heard some alternating views on the fact that maybe it describes something that goes way more deeper than us. And it feels bad describing the seat of presidency with this kind of words, but it just goes beyond the seat of presidency to describing the individuals that live within that space. So Fix the Country, Occupy Jubilee House, basically we have the same goals that we wanted to achieve. If you look at the long-term demands that we're putting across when we did the first Fix the Country demonstration, basically it's similar to what we got out of accruing the million tweets that we have on Twitter and trying to bring out a demand this time around. It's similar, the same thing. The fact that people wanted right tools to be able to demand for accountability, the fact that people feel that our constitution is quite porous and it has way too many loopholes, the fact that we've written something that basically makes the president a demigod and all these things. It's quite similar. The fact that Ghanaians are tired of having a country that is being run on 4-year manifestos and that we want something that is more structured and it's going to lead to the fact that it will allow the state to save some money, because if there is that kind of structure guiding us, you wouldn't have government A leaving power and government B comes into power and says, I don't want to continue the project of party A or government A. Then they do something new altogether and sort of like trump up all these theories about the reason why they want to move away from that project. So these are the things that Ghanaians were asking for. And we are just facilitators of that message. We've communicated that clearly since we started this movement.
But why Nkrumah's birthday and why Jubilee House?
So it's something that I don't know if maybe people pay attention to, but almost all of Fix the Country's demonstrations, we do them on some specific dates. So the one we had in Tamale was done on Constitution Day. The one we had August 4, 2021 was also something that was quite remarkable. So these are dates that we deliberately pick them. It's not because we just want to march on that day. Now, Nkrumah's Day, basically we just realized that what does the media do on Nkrumah's Day? What happens within the country? They play some few videos and stuff of him talking, his speeches and stuff. But then the thing that he championed, that he fought for, that thing is rotting away. So why don't we drum up that spirit on that particular day? So that is what led to us settling on the 21st of this month. And then the name itself, so this time, this is the first time I'm actually going to explain how we came about that name. So Occupy Jubilee House is a bit of the Jubilee House in Ghana words. And when you translate, it becomes thief's son. So Jubilee is a thief's son. Now, if you look at through Ghana's constitution, our history, the president is basically the son of a former president. So it just doesn't tag just a president, but tags his dad also. That your dad has made a mistake. We have people in history bashing him and all that. You come into power, you can do something different, and then you repeat the same things. You give us lots of promises, you come into power, you don't do any of these things. So that is how we came up with the name behind the Occupy Jubilee. So it wasn't something that was just targeting just the house itself, but the person that is occupying the seat of power within the country.
So what if somebody said to you that's offensive and disrespectful to the seat of the government?
I don't think the seat of government has been respectful to the people for them to demand respect from us.
So we should disrespect the seat of government? Do you think that had an effect on the turnout you got?
I think The turnouts basically, looking at how the first day basically was, I think the police actions basically thwarted what we wanted to do on the first day because there were some arrests and all that. But then the second day, we had the rains coming in, and the fact that people now had to shred away that fear of whether the police will come in with brutality or maybe use extreme force against protesters. But then the Thursday was quite encouraging. I think we had most of the key media people within the country, celebrities and all, passing through, bloggers, influencers online, the Ghanaian populace joining us. I think we caused one of the biggest traffic in Ghana's history.
You caused one of the biggest traffics in Accra's history.
Yes, in terms of trying to highlight our message or to send our message across. The turnout was good. Looking at the behavior of the police and everything, and to get that number of people out on the streets to come and register their displeasure with the system, I would say it was quite good.
Let me come to Felicity. Felicity, you've been part of the Fix the Country group from beginning.
Yeah.
And so I take it you're also part of Democracy Hub?
Yes, I am.
It's been quite a journey then. So what's the big idea in your view behind the transition? Because Fix the Country was well known. Democracy Hub is pretty new.
Okay, so, Fix the Country started as a protest movement. So, we started wanting to do the first protest was meant to be on the 9th of May, as you can remember, and the police took us to court. So that kind of, we had to take it all the way to the Supreme Court, get the injunction overturned, and then we eventually went on our first protest on the 4th of August. So that was what it was. But we've also noticed that we can do protests as well, but there's other things which are needed. So for example, when the soldiers went into Ashaiman to go and brutalize the residents due to the fact that a soldier was murdered in Ashaiman, we provided legal support. We're actually going to be doing a lawsuit against the Ghana Armed Forces, and we took victim statements, took pictures, took videos. So these are the kind of things that we needed to create some kind of dichotomy and provide some kind of system which can support these kind of actions. So that's why we need a Democracy Hub. So that's like a separate entity to Fix the Country, because Fix the Country is primarily a protest movement.
Wonderful. Now, the numbers you pulled on social media versus what turned out. So, for example, Ben was telling me about 1 million tweets. Did you have a certain ratio of expectation that the level of engagement you were having on social media was going to translate into a certain number of people? Was that part of the plan at all? And how did you see the turnout?
Okay, so for me, honestly, anytime we have a protest and there's more people than us, like the conveners, I'm always like very happy, because I really do appreciate the fact that as Ghanaians, especially in this dispensation, we're not very prone to protest. A lot of people are scared. If you look at what happened on day one, the way the police they arrested people, the way they brutalized journalists, individuals, things like this make people scared to go out to protest. And it's not without reason. Like literally, you have the fear of being brutalized, and you actually see videos of people being brutalized when they've gone on protests. So for me, anyone that's able, if it was just one or two, even if it's just one or two people, it's an encouragement for me. And so I've never been the kind of person that's just like, oh, we need to get 1 million people out on the street before I'm going to consider it success. It's like, are people engaged? Do people understand the message? Because if you look at on social media, especially on Twitter, if you looked at people, we had questions like, why are you protesting? Why, what? And people were talking about the healthcare system. People were talking about people had lost their parents due to the no bed syndrome. People had lost babies had died due to like the fact that we don't have the right facilities in the NICU units in the hospitals. There's people who have bad roads, people dealing with scholarship issues where they've gone to try and get fund, for example, and the person working in get fund is asking them to pay like 90,000 cedis, whilst they're seeing a list of get fund recipients and it's going to politicians like Adwa Safo and Napo, and these are people who can clearly afford to pay their own way. When there's actual needy and brilliant people who need things like get fund and they can't access it. So for me, it's about whether or not our message was translated, whether people understood why they need to be angry, why they need to be outraged, why they need to be engaged in this political process. And I think that for me is where the success is, as opposed to looking at how many people went out there. And honestly, I was amazed by the numbers. I thought the numbers were amazing. I was really impressed, especially on the third day. Even in the rain, people were still standing out in the rain. And a lot of the people, and especially because a lot of the people that I saw this time were completely new faces, people that we don't have a personal relationship with, people that we don't know, who have listened to the messages and who have felt connected to the message and felt that they needed to come out to protest.
I wanted to show you a chart for your comment. It seems as if there isn't a protest culture in Ghana. In fact, if you look at a study my friend Dr. Abdul Gafaru Abdullahi put together with the Afrobarometer data on the state of active citizenship. I mean, between 2002 and 2018, a large proportion of people said they would never take part in a protest or demonstration. Only a small percentage said they would take part in a demonstration. I don't know if my people have the graph to show you, but it's pretty dire if you look at the numbers. Is this one of the things you want to change with the spate of protests you are trying to organize? Because the numbers look pretty abysmal.
And our continued, and the reason why we continue to go out to protest is because we want to, if you know, we've gone on 5, 6, 7, 8 protests and we're not dead, we're proof that you can go out to a protest and come out alive, for one. You know, if we have to understand people, we need Ghanaians, there needs to be a paradigm shift in the way we think about political participation. It doesn't stop when you vote. Like, voting cannot be the only thing that Ghanaians do when it comes to our democratic rights. Like, we go and vote, and then for 4 years, you do nothing until you vote again. No, you need to be actively engaged in the process. And for us, it's about teaching people and kind of trying to encourage people to be more engaged and to speak up when they're not happy. But I think even culturally, there are people who have this whole thing of, oh, Pamanyame, you know, God will do it, and, you know, and yeshe. So these, and the fact that we also have where we have an ageism problem, where people in positions of authority, we actually equate that to their kind of so we have we respect people in positions of authority, so we don't speak up against them, you don't demand accountability from them. So these are all things which are quite foreign to our culture, or uncomfortable, things that we're uncomfortable with. So it's about trying to encourage people to move beyond, if someone's in authority, you can't demand anything from them, and just, you know, kind of deferring to and giving people in authority reverence, even doing the wrong things, because they actually owe us. We must demand accountability from them. They cannot do as they please, because we're actually they're being paid with our taxes, and they're there to serve our interest, not their own personal interest.
I wanted Ben's comment on the chat that most Ghanaians would never attend a protest march. I mean, I don't know if you've seen this data before. This is for 20-year data that Afrobarometer has done and compared. I even have another one which compares 4 countries. And you have Benin, Botswana, Ghana, and South Africa compared. And the figure for Ghana, for those who would never go for a demonstration, yes, look at that. 67% of Ghanaians said they'll never do a demonstration. The figure in Botswana is 49, Benin is 48, South Africa is 38. I mean, South Africa has had more violent police behavior against citizens. Yet, you have more people saying they would attend a demo in South Africa. I mean, if you look at the history of these 4 countries, Ghana is not the most violent of these 4. And yet, and this goes across not even just demonstration. You ask things like, would you go for a community meeting? Ghanaians wouldn't go. So it seems like Ghanaians understand democracy as just voting, because almost everything else you do in a democracy, organize, go for meetings, demonstrate, in all the data, Ghanaians were the least interested. I mean, that should be worrying for an activist like you, shouldn't it be?
I think it's because we've not had a true group that sort of like comes up and says that we want to do this for the people. Each time Ghanaians have that faith in demonstrations and stuff, the group that's maybe springs up ends up disappointing them. They either end up in political positions and all that. And then the next group that comes up needs to battle that. And that is the same thing that Fix the Country was facing from the onset. People were asking questions like, are you not from the main opposition party? Who is funding you? What are your intentions for us? Are you guys true to the cause? Are you sure you're not going to jam ship? Should government change and all that? These are questions that I feel they are very, very important, and we need to answer them. And you can't answer them within a year or two. You actually have to stretch this beyond administrations. And then when you do that, that is when you start building the trust of the people. Then they can actually fall on you. If you look at the reactions we've gotten for this protest, as against the one we did earlier on, last 2 years, people are saying, okay, now it feels like this movement is for us, because we're actually nearing the election year, and our messaging has still stayed the same, that Ghanaians are demanding for this. And these are not things that we are going to negotiate on. We just want this. These are our demands. And it actually sings war with the common Ghanaian out there. So that is what actually has led to these kind of new interactions. Now, I'll actually touch on South Africa. When you go to South Africa, it's basically a race issue. They see themselves as blacks against whites. Now, the economy, the whites control a bigger share. The blacks are basically the ones at the lower end of the spectrum. And these kind of things, when you are organizing around something that feels like we are all one, it basically just shoots up. Ghanaians were just like that when we had the colonial masters here. When the Ghana chief was actually calling for a strike on European goods, everybody actually heeded to his call. But I don't think today, when you do the same thing, you're going to get the same success as it did back then. Because then their enemy had a different skin color. But now we are basically fighting elements that look like us, talk like us, behave like us, and yet still they screw us. So that is basically what we are faced with. And we don't see these things or these elements when you move to South Africa. So it's a different ball game altogether. And I think as we move on, these are trends that we see that it should be changing as we move on.
But you said something about the fact that people don't go for demo because every time they support a group, the group disappoints them. And you shouldn't be suggesting that when the group becomes partisan, people don't like it.
I think Ghanaians basically now have this sense of like all the two parties are the same, basically. We vote for this party, they leave power, the next one comes, they do something worse, we go back, we pick the old one. It's just a reshuffling. And these kind of things, when they happen, it actually breaks our patriotic spirit. There are Ghanaians that I spoke with that they were like, okay, for the first time I feel like a Ghanaian. I feel like I've gone to a protest, I didn't see any party colors there. Nothing of that sort. You guys were picking up your own rubbish. You were providing food services and all that. We're even helping ambulances to find their way through the crowd to the hospital. So these are things that people find to be very new when it comes to demonstrations in Ghana here. You rarely go to any demonstration in Ghana here and you not see a political party flag in there. And these are things that fix the country has been able to control.
But do you think that the size of Ghanaians who want this is enough to cause a change? Because we look at the voting pattern, and if you look at the behavior of Ghanaians, they are very partisan.
Like I always say, this is a long haul. If you tell me that I should give maybe a mark on how this thing is going to be effective, I might go for something way above 5 years. So
5 years?
Yes, it's a slow process.
So this is beyond the next election?
Yes, it's a slow process. So we just have to maintain this. Now, if there should be a new administration and they keep on doing the things that we do not want, we still stay on point with our messaging, and then we hit back that this is what Ghanaians are demanding for. That is the only way that I think, basically, we can change this. You can't hide behind the fact that you do this for maybe 4 years, or you do this during the lifespan of one administration. As soon as they move out, then you die off. If you do that, if there should be a new group or a new movement that springs up afterwards, they have to convince Ghanaians all over again based on your actions that you did. So you have people saying, oh, we saw Occupy Ghana, we saw Let My Vote Count, blah, blah. All these guys are in political positions now. What is the assurance that you won't do the same? We can only give that assurance if there's a new administration and we still maintain what we are doing.
Interesting. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll just try and understand a bit more about their demands, show you some shots from the protest. Later on, Alan Kojo Chermating has resigned from the MPP and has declared that he would run for president in 2024 as an independent candidate. We have his spokesperson in studio. We also have Professor Ransford Jampo, who will be telling us what he thinks about this move. Stay with us.
I just took a shower above the clouds. You know why? Because this is the Emirates A380.
Intestinal worms may cause itching, abdominal pains, loss of appetite, and anemia. Intestinal worms may enter the body through improperly cooked foods, dust, or contaminated soils. Wormplex 400 is an effective dewormer for both adults and children and can be taken at any time of the day. It is recommended to deworm periodically. 1 tablet of Wormplex 400 kills intestinal worms, roundworms, hookworms, tapeworms, and other intestinal worms. I recommend Wormplex 400 to you because it has worked for my family. Lactating mothers, pregnant women, and children under 2 years should consult their physician before taking Wormplex 400.
Wormplex 400, yeah.
Wormplex 400, as soon tamfo. This advert is FDA approved.
It's time for the ultimate corporate sports gathering, the City Business Olympics 2023. Get ready to unleash your competitive spirit and showcase your athletic prowess as we bring together the best of the best from the corporate world. From traditional sports like seven-a-side football, basketball, sack race, and volleyball, to unique challenges like tug of war and arm wrestling, there's no shortage of excitement and adrenaline pumping action. So, gather your colleagues, lace up your sneakers, and get ready to compete in the City Business Olympics. It's time to show off your skills, build connections, and have a blast in the ultimate corporate sports extravaganza. To register your company to participate, call 0205-973-973 or 0558-973-973 now. Which company will emerge as champion and which CEO will win the ultimate CEO's Challenge at the City Business Olympics 2023? We'll find out on 30th September 2023. Venue, Eden Heights Sports Complex. Wager, time 8 a.m. The City Business Olympics 2023 is powered by City TV with support from City FM and proudly sponsored by Lozati Lozenges from Unicom Chemist Limited, EK Brand Consult, Blue Jeans Energy Drink, Pollard Insurance, and Baltic Ghana Limited.
Welcome back. We're still on the point of view tonight. We have a double barrel first show. We're talking to the conveners of the Occupy Jilobi Demo. They are called Democracy Hub. Benjamin Darkun is the head of programs in studio. Felicity Nelson is one of the co-conveners. Felicity, so you said a lot. I just wanted you to give me your top 2 or 3 demands. Usually at protests like that, there are demands. I noticed you didn't present any petition, but obviously there are key things you want to see changed. So what are the top things you were trying to see change with this particular protest?
Benjamin, Fix the Country has always been clear that we don't provide a list of demands because if they're petitions, because we know that they're extremely pointless. And I think at this point, you don't need, if you read the placards, if you read people's messages online, you know, Ghanaians are talking all the time about what they're going through: harsh economic conditions, unemployment, bad roads, access to water. These are things I don't need to come. When the MPP government when they were coming into government, they gave a list of promises. People wrote it on the premise of those promises. So if they can fulfill the things they promised at least, then we'll be happy. Then let them I don't need to give them a list of demands or my top 3 things which they need to do. If you don't know the reason why you're there, then step down. I don't need to tell you, I don't need to remind you of what you need to be doing. This country, we will not be ever providing the government with a list. I know that when you look at the placards, you can read that people have messages. Listen to Ghanaian people, do town halls. The people are complaining all the time. I don't need to sit here and give a list of my top 3 demands. I just wouldn't, because I just feel like there's so many things. I'm not going to give the top 3.
So how would you know if you've been successful?
How will I know if I've been successful? How will I know? Ghanaians will know if you're successful when you have met Ghanaians' needs. basic needs. And like that, I've mentioned some things. I've said the harsh economic conditions. When you're looking at the fact that corruption is not being dealt with as harshly. So Ghanaians are watching, we can see that for ourselves. Those are the metrics, the economic factors, those are the metrics. Like, I don't need to come and give a list of demands in order for the government to know what they need to do, because they already know what they need to do. They are shirking their responsibility. When they were coming into government, if they'd said to us, we don't know what we need to do, we don't know what we need to fix, tell us come back and repeat the things you told us in 2016 when you wanted us to vote for you instead of Mahama. Do those things. You're gonna fix the exchange rate. You're gonna ensure, petrol prices. All of these are things that you promised, that you made promises on, and you haven't delivered on. Do I need to remind them of everything? If I start today, we won't even finish this conversation.
Okay, so I understand you are not partisan, but protests are very political. This
Definitely.
afternoon, we saw Alan Chermatin announce that he was going to run independent, and he was appealing to the youth. Will Fix the Country support him?
Okay, I can't speak for Fix the Country. Let me speak for Felicity, because we haven't taken a decision on Alan. I will just speak for me. I don't know what Alan stands for. I don't know what he represents. I think that he failed to make a mark as a minister. He was part of this government that we're complaining against. He never took a stand. He never spoke up against them. So I'm sorry if I'm struggling to see what it is that Alan is going to provide that's going to be any different.
He says he's going on a non. He says he's going on a non.
I'm not speaking Fix the Country.
No. I'm asking you as Felicity. I'll ask Ben too. He says he's going on a non-partisan platform. It's a movement for Ghanaians. The youth of Ghana need change. Independent candidates, by their definition, will have to work with both sides. So it seems a bit, I don't know. It's like partisanship is not a bad thing. Being partisanship is not a negative thing per se. It's when partisanship takes away from development, that's when we have a problem. So just because you're saying that you don't belong to MPP, NDC, does not necessarily make you an angel. That doesn't mean anything to me. And I'm saying, what is Alan's track record as a trade minister? What did he do to fix like our balance sheet? What did he do? What has he done? And in terms of, as he's campaigned, when he was campaigning as a flag bearer of the MPP, I don't know what his message is. I've been struggling to see what it is his message is. So today he's saying he's trying to appeal to the youth. I'm waiting to see what it is that he's going to say to appeal to me. As it stands today, there's nothing that he has said that's going to appeal to me. I think that Alan has continued to treat the presidency as his family heirloom, which was promised to him, at some point, and he feels like it belongs to him. Ghana does not belong to you. So if you think Ghanaians must vote for you, then you must win our vote. Wow, you've just made my work easy, because the spokesperson is sitting across from here waiting to come on. And as you've been talking, he's writing notes, because it looks like you are, the way you are firing, the guy is hot already. So Courage, please prepare your notes, because Felicity has some dangerous questions for you. I mean, do you think Alan's choice, and I can ask you as an individual now, he launched this thing today, which is just a day after your protest, and then he made a direct appeal to the youth. He even used the phrase, Occupy Julobi. I mean, I haven't heard any mainstream person who's worked in the MPP say this. So it seems like he's making a direct appeal to you guys, but Felicity is not convinced at all. You are here. I think you heard him when he spoke, right?
Yeah.
Did you see, what did you make of Alan?
I'm not convinced either.
Oh.
Yes, I think it's a bit too late.
Too late?
Yes, for him.
Okay.
During the main period of the corruption and the rot that Ghanaians were complaining about, that was like 2 years ago, during the peak of the COVID. That's when we started agitating and complaining about all these things. What we expect from our leaders is that if you don't agree with a certain ideology or a certain path taken by someone, a party is not binding on you. You have to find your voice and say, I want out. Okay. You don't wait till the last minute where you go for your party elections and they mafia you and then you come and say, I don't agree with this, I'm running independent. No. You don't woo us using those kind of things. You can't use that.
Can't a man repent? Can't a man see the light?
You can't repent in a month. You need to show something. Actions.
So are you writing him off completely, or you are saying you wait to see what he has? Felicity is saying, I want to see
more. It's the same thing. So he said something. He's not going to woo me by just writing a speech and just reading it out.
You want more?
Yes, we want something. And these are the things. So far, I've not heard any of these presidential candidates mention of the key things we're asking for. The fact that we want maybe a national development planning authority or a document that is legally binding on all political actors so that Ghana does not go through these manifesto issues that we have. The fact that we've been trumpeting the idea that our constitution is quite porous. None of these presidents that they are trying to say they want to get our power have actually addressed that issue. So these are the key things that we've been asking for. There's no economic charter from any of them. They all go through the same manifesto style. These are things that we feel it's plagued our democracy for a long time. It's made Ghana grow at a very slow pace. In fact, we're actually retrogressing at a faster rate. So if Allah wants to convince me, he needs to say certain things. And it's not just going to be the Nanado type that he went to IA debate and said, okay, I'll work on the constitution. You need to say something concrete this time around. I need to see, hear, and then feel that this man is saying something from the deepest.
So you want specifics?
Yes.
And you possibly want timelines?
Yes. We don't want this whole thing that you just say, I'm going to build an economy around the private sector, blah, blah, X, Y, Z.
You won't take that
and
anymore.
You just mentioned Occupy Jubilee. No, it's not going to work.
You don't want that?
Yes, it's not going to work.
Wow.
It's not going to work.
So the group is waiting to be convinced on any of the people offering themselves for president, not just Alan.
Yes.
From Mahama to Baumia to
All
everybody.
of them. You need to actually speak to the demands that we are asking for.
But would you people present a candidate?
No.
Why not?
Because as a people's movement, we don't decide for the majority of people.
So what if the people say they want a leader? That there's nobody in the current offering that represents those aspirations?
It would have to be a tall list of demands from the people. Like this kind of calls should be up to a certain number for you to just say, okay, we feel this is enough, we can do this. But
so for now, you don't see Democracy Hub Fix the Country offering a candidate?
No.
Or supporting a candidate?
Support depends on what the person
has.
Yes.
But offering no?
Yeah, yes. From our end, currently I'll say no.
No. Wow. Thank you. Thank you for talking to us. Benjamin Darko is the program's head for Democracy Hub. And then I also had Felicity Nelson. Felicity, thank you for joining us on the show. When we come back, she's already said the questions for Alan's spokesperson. So he's coming to answer the questions. And I'll ask Professor Jampo what he thinks about this Alan move. People are looking at history. 79, Victor Owusu, Pa Willie. People are talking about Reku Brob in 2000. And all kinds of things are coming up. We'll analyze all of that when we come back. Stay with us.